While I'm here, I thought I'd do a quick video to comment. I know everything's been about my move lately, but I still keep my hand in on what's going on in the guitar community on YouTube. Interesting to note, and Guitar Max has been covering this quite a lot. Interesting to note that Gibson did win their lawsuit against Dean, and Dean, from lay reports, I haven't seen anything official, are in a bit of trouble financially. Some people are suspecting their demise if it's not happened already. This is interesting because here we have a big company going against a smaller company in a legal fashion through the courts and winning. And I suppose this is the dynamic that plays out all through corporate America, and probably the world as well, is that the people with the greater means, the greater financial arm, the best array of lawyers, maybe the pedigree as a company, because Gibson is, a pedigree guitar company, win out against a smaller, newer, Dean isn't new, they're not newbies, but let's face it, they are a smaller, slightly newer company. I don't know the ins and outs of the trial, and whether it is a cut and dried opinion, legal opinion, verdict rather, or if there's some cause for appeal or anything like that. I just find it interesting that in my experience, I've worked with wholesalers, I've worked with online catalog companies, I've worked with retail, and I've worked with my own private company. I've worked with distribution as well, spanning over 25 years in the music instrument business. I do find it interesting that whenever these big lawsuits get to the courts, not all the time, but I would say the majority of them get settled in favor of the bigger, more financially able company. So I don't know what this means for the guitar world, the fact that Gibson can go after Dean for their guitar shapes and win and put Dean under some pressure to either withdraw certain models or have to do redesigns. We talked about this recently with Fender and Alan Eden. This has a big bearing, I think, on the smaller companies. If Dean can get whacked, then we know there are hundreds of companies smaller than Dean, newer than Dean, that are susceptible if Gibson or Fender chooses to go after them. So it's an interesting development. I need to sort of watch some of these videos more thoroughly and get more details on it. I'm just speaking about the general outcome. I've seen firsthand some cases when I worked in the wholesale world, and normally they favored the larger companies, more corporate companies. Very occasionally, a big company goes after a small company and the courts find no reason to uphold their suit. But in a lot of cases, the bigger company wins. I'm not sure how big Gibson still are, though. My sister-in-law worked for them for a time, and during her spell there in California, at the particular office she was at, they were fairly close to, chapter 11, and going out of business. So they went perilously close, did Gibson, 2 or 3 years ago, to going out of business. And they seem to have rebounded, and one of their strategies is, to sort of go after and protect their image rights. So I'm wondering how that's going to go for them. I wonder if there is still some question as to their future, whether this tactic is a wise one, whether it's going to work, whether it brings any financial reward. I don't see Dean being that much of a direct competitor for Gibson. But I don't know. It might be about, I think I read it was about 3 or 4 models in their catalog. So it might not be that extensive, but it's interesting to see these developments and note the tendencies in these legal battles. And it seems that Gibson and Fender are the two main bringers of suits in the guitar world today. And we should also point out that their iconic shapes and their guitars that they're famed for were not wholly originated by those companies. They borrowed designs, modified other people's ideas. Leo Fender famously borrowed and stole designs from other people, some of which are no longer around. But we can't assume that the Telecaster, the Stratocaster, the Les Paul, the SG, and all these iconic shapes are absolutely original to those two companies. I do think that there were other developers, makers, designers, smaller companies, some of which didn't last very long, that aided and contributed to some of these ideas. So there's a little bit of irony here, I think, the fact that they go after these smaller companies when at one point they were a smaller company, also borrowing ideas, might be a bit irksome to some people. It's been pointed out on quite a few videos, so I thought to mention it here as well. But it'll be interesting to see what happens, particularly with these two big companies, and what happens in the guitar market in the near future, because there are an awful lot of companies, a lot of smaller companies that we cover on this channel, that are making iconic shape guitars, like a lot of Strats, a lot of Tellies, a lot of Les Paul copies. We've done a lot of videos on this channel involving some of those. Many of them stay away from the headstock shapes. They change the body design so that it's not too close to the original, but I don't know how far Gibson and Fender are going to go chasing these people down and stopping them from producing these guitars. So we'll have to watch this space. All right, folks, let me know what you think. See you next time.